it goes
Alright, as well known that before Serenity Server was launched, EVE Online was known as the only world when all EVE players played on the Tranquility Server. Now, with more and more Chinese players immigrating into Tranquility Server, they are curiously exploring this world and its history. From the 8th episode of Voice of EVE Year, we will invite core members from different alliances all over the world to our program and share their stories with Chinese player community to provide them with a better understanding about the game and business philosophy. At the beginning of today's program, let's welcome Sword Dragon, the leader of Dead Coalition.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello, Sword Dragon. Many people now may be kind of unfamiliar with Dead Coalition, because most of our impression of Dead Coalition still stays at the GOTG time. Would you like to make a brief introduction of the Dead Coalition for us first, so we can figure out what kind of coalition it is?
Yeah, so originally we were the Coalition of Guardians of the Galaxy, and now we're Dead Coalition, and the reason for that is because about a year ago, people were claiming that our coalition was dead and we weren't active and we had no future. And so we changed our name to Dead Coalition. So instead of letting people make fun of us, we just embraced the joke ourselves and named ourselves Dead Coalition.
So it turns out that your coalition is not dead and it's becoming stronger day and day, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. We're a multinational, multilingual coalition with people from Russia, China, Japan, England, most of Europe, and North America, and even South America. So we're growing every day, and especially our Chinese community is growing every day as well.
Since you have mentioned the Chinese community, that we have known that there are more and more Chinese players joining in this server nowadays, and we have, of course, we know the Ranger Regiment and other kinds of alliances. And I want to ask you that I believe there are also newly emerging Chinese-speaking factions beside Ranger Regiment, which are willing to join you. And can you make a list of any of them you are familiar with? And have you ever considered of establishing further cooperation relationships with any of them?
Yeah, so recently I saw VVV created and the alliance of MSN. So I think VVV is their full name is Veni Vidi Vici, and then there's MSN, which is the Stars of the Northern Moon. Outside of that, I've seen a lot of other small Chinese alliances come along, and I've always wanted to work with more Chinese groups, but it's always hard for me to link up with them. I don't know all of them, so I rely on the Ranger Regiment leaders and other Chinese influential players to connect me with them, because I always want to give more and more Chinese players a good home. So yeah, I definitely want to work with them.
Thank you. It seems that you trust the Ranger Regiment a lot nowadays, and I'm curious about what do you think about Ranger Regiment, and what was the impression they gave you after working with them for so many years?
So originally, I had, it was suggested to me by a player called Wind Spirits. He is the old leader of Fraternity. He suggested to me that I give Ranger Regiment a home. I didn't know anything about Ranger Regiment. The only Chinese group that I knew about at the time was Fraternity. And Ranger Regiment wanted to try something new, and so we offered them a home. And to me, loyalty is everything. And they've been extremely loyal to me and extremely respectful. And it's a really back and forward relationship. I have very much respect for them and very much respect for their pilots. And I love working with them. Their main FC is very fun to work with. They've had a few different CEOs, and I've got along very well with each of them. So I definitely like working with them, and it's definitely a crazy ride to work with them and get to know them.
Uh, and since that, the Ranger Regiment recently they changed their CEO because some players donate some resources to them. And do you think that having a new CEO will affect the relationship between you and the Ranger Regiment?
I don't think so. I obviously want to take the time to get to know the new CEO of Ranger Regiment. I've had a great relationship with the other CEOs. Craig and Drone, the previous CEOs, have both been amazing to work with. I'm sure I'll have the same kind of relationship with the new CEO once I get to know them. Um, but yeah, I don't see that changing at all.
So this is not the personal things, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me who leads them, to be honest, so long as we work together and we stay together as a coalition. That's all that matters.
Thank you. And another question here is that we would like to know is that what triggered the war between Dead Coalition and the Pan Farm, and how long do you think this war will continue?
So the war between PanFam and us started back in October, where originally it was October last year. Originally, a Pandemic Horde, one of the members of PanFam, attacked us and Ranger Regiment assets in Branch, trying to secure some extra space for them, and we pushed them back. And one of our ally, who we were allies with at the time, another member of PanFam in our Northern Coalition, decided to turn their back on us. And so, as such, when the time was right, Ranger Regiment wanted to take control over Teenal. And so they came and asked me if they could have Teenal, and I said sure, and we would go and help them. And so we took Teenal off Pandemic Legion and NC Dot. And since then, they have had a want to try and take it back, but their numbers are down and they're very bad at fleets. So we've had a pretty good war so far against them.
And we have heard that you are planning to cooperating with Goons. I guess there is something to do with it with this war with Goons. But is it okay for you to share some details and the purpose of your cooperation with them?
There's a saying in English, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And our relationship with Goons is that we share a common enemy. We both hate PanFam. We're both happy to work together against PanFam. But outside of that, we don't have a huge, how would you say it? We don't have a actual agreement. We just work with each other. I mean, maybe in the future we'll have an agreement, but for now it's a common enemy, and it's giving us a chance to work with them and them to work with us, because who knows, in the future we might need to work more closely together. But for now, it's definitely just having a common enemy to shoot.
So the current relationship is quite loosened, rather than saying it is allies or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a formal ally, but it's definitely an alliance. It's an alliance between two entities that have the same enemies who, when they get a chance to shoot each other, they shoot each other. That's basically it.
Alright, I get it. And let's talk about the South. Uh, since the Southern War is settling down, we know that the test took the detour and marching into the other areas where used to belong to fraternity, and everyone is concerned about the future of the Winter Coalition. Rumors came that they will move to Drone area, which is quite closely related to that coalition, I guess. And what is your point of view about their immigrating to the northern area?
I think it is extremely bad idea for Winter Coalition to live in the drone regions. Um, PanFam has stabbed them in the back before. I think they would do it again. I think it would be smarter for Winter Coalition to settle somewhere where it's not close to PanFam. so they can actually live on their own and have a better result.
So it
I think
seems
that's
that
definitely. Good.
PanFam is not trustable anymore.
No, I mean PanFam, Northern Coalition, a member of PanFam, to turn their back on fraternity and left them to die to test so they could attack us. That's not someone you would want to ally with, because if they've stabbed you in the back once, what's to stop them from doing it again?
Thank you. And here we get the last question. The last question is an optional question. That can you say something you most want to say to Chinese players in Mandarin, or
God.
it is okay? It is also okay in English. They would love to hear it in Chinese.
When I am getting back from my next trip, I'm going to be working on trying to learn Mandarin, but right now I actually don't. I don't speak Mandarin. Um, I I need to have lessons.
All
So
right,
that I
that's okay.
think.
That's okay. Thank
But
you.
I would say in English, I would say to Chinese members, tranquility is open to you guys. There is definitely, you are the future of this server. You are the future of the game. More and more people come over, and when you pick a home, make sure it's a strong home and a home with good leadership. Um, I would say the amount of effort that the Chinese players put into um, living inside Tranquility, having to use VPNs, having not any Chinese language inside their client. I would say the amount of effort you put in you have a lot of respect from me because of it. So I welcome you like everybody else does, and I thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Salt Dragon, for joining us. We will do our best to bring a voice to Chinese players. We also hope that the voice of EVE can establish a good communication and cooperation relationship with that coalition in the future and become a more comprehensive voice platform for all players. And for all pilots listening, fly safe and we will see you next time. Alright, we are done here, I think. Thank you a lot,
Cool.
Salt Dragon.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.